right? So when I make a mistake on my goal or something doesn't happen, I want to see why I can learn and not just blame myself for it. I want to figure out how I can learn of why that happened. This is the thinking process that we put in line with our goals. Why I don't feel like getting out of bed, or why I'm scared to apply for a new job, or why I'm just afraid to move and get out of the environment that I'm into. What's paralyzing me and keeping me here? So this is all into our thinking process. When things go wrong, I ask, what's the one thing that's still in my control? What do we control? What do we control? And what we're controlling is more of a trying to not listen to what's in our head, keeping us back. Like I knew it. This is I'm gonna not do any good with this. So, and how do you talk to yourself? You need to talk to yourself like a good friend. You need to have compassion for yourself and to have love for yourself. So you can put it this way. So the outcome goals are about results, the process goals are about the actions, and the thinking goals are about the person you are becoming, right? So when we're adding thought in as part of our goals, that is exactly who we are becoming. And we want to know where we're going to go, where we're going to be with little check-ins every day on the person that we're becoming. So when you let your reactions get into the way of living life where you should be, then those reactions, which are just long hammered into your head from a long time ago, are going to keep you stagnant. And it's going to impede your thought growth, and it's going to impede you becoming the person that you deserve to be. And when we fail at stuff, it's because we only changed our actions for a little while, but we never change the way that we think. So it's the thinking along with the actions that have to happen. And the thinking process can be a long time before it starts developing the actions, before it starts letting go certain friendships, certain people, certain things that you talk about with people. Everybody wants to know what's going on and put a lot of attention into your life. That way they can ignore their own. So you don't want to fall into this cycle. You want to put your intentions and your actions into your life because that's what matters. That's what matters the most. So you can let people react and laugh all they want to. So your thoughts create your feelings, drive your actions, and then that's going to create the results that you're looking for, right? That's what we're about. So if we want different results, we can start by setting goals, first of all, about how we think. The goals have to be about how we think. And how do we think? How do we talk to ourselves? What are we telling ourselves in the morning? Like, my leg hurts, this hurts. Then we're carrying it through the day. Instead of my legs feeling better, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to do something about how I'm managing things. I'm going to do something about how I'm dealing with my finances. These are things we're going to write it down. And then write them down in columns, what you can control and what you can't control. Because you're going to find a lot of your worries about things you can't control. But what you can control is how you think about the loss of control of something. So you can control how something affects you, even if you can't control that action happening. For example, if you have somebody in your life that's constantly putting you down, but they're in your life for some reason and they're putting you down, you can't control how they act and talk, but you can control how it lets them feel by just realizing that they are the problem, not you. You can't get down just because the weather has changed. You have no control over that. But you can find things to do and consider the weather happening as a blessing in your life to put you in a moment, not to fear, but find yourself in moments as opportunities to understand yourself and why certain things make you react the way that you do. So you can't change things unless you notice them. Awareness is the first thing. You first have to recognize what it is you need to change in your life. People can say all day, you do this, you do that, but you have to recognize it. You have to recognize that this voice that you hear that's keeping you down or inhibiting you or impeding you in some way is a past echo from the very, very past that for some reason you carried forward as a belief to keep you paralyzed so you don't have to keep fears, to keep you comfortably complacent, to keep you from going forward because you're very comfy where you are and you're afraid that because of this that it might be true, and it's not. It's not true. So you can't change what you don't notice. That's the one thing in life that you're never going to be able to do. You first have to recognize where the problem is, where it's coming from. So what I said earlier, that when we're meditating and we're in quietness and the thoughts and these things that come to your head, and many of them, you're just constantly generating thoughts, pay attention to the negative ones. Try to find out where they come from. Was it in third grade you had a teacher that told you that you're a loudmouth, you'll never amount to anything? Did you have a sinister uncle that said something horrible to you, or a cousin that said something about you from a long time ago and you still believe that, or somebody told you something about yourself? You got to release that. You got to find out where that is, and you need to crush it. You need to crush it so you can go forward, right? So we're going to talk about turning unhelpful thoughts into more useful ones. So when we find these thoughts and we know they're not positive for us, how do we turn those thoughts into a useful thought? By managing our habitual thinking. So let's talk about, so let's go from I can't do this to I can't do this yet, but I'm going to learn how to do it. Not I'm going to try, but I'm going to learn how to do it. That is a new thought process that we have. How about from I failed to I learned something that'll help me out next time? I'm glad that this happened, this failure. I'm glad that this emergency happened. I'm glad I had this failure at work because next time I come across this, this is my learning curve. Have you ever looked at your failures as learning curves or little breadcrumbs that are taking you to a better life? So your thinking goals is when you catch yourself saying, I can't, you're going to just add the word yet to it. So I can't yet. I can't yet, right? And after something goes wrong, why don't you just think of what did I learn from this? What did I learn from this bad relationship? What did I learn from this job? What did I learn when I tried to assemble something and it fell apart? We might need the directions. And speaking of which, there's one person in your life who's you that can write your manual, your maintenance manual, your mind maintenance manual, knowing what it is you need. Sometimes it's just a lot of self-love that we're missing. We don't need the love from the outside. We need the love we give ourselves when we look at ourselves in the mirror, when we're self-reflecting, when we're setting our goals. So self-talk goals is all about how you speak to yourself. And there's awareness, noticing your thoughts. That's one way to go about it. So, awareness of your thoughts. That's about catching your thoughts. Every day I notice at least one negative thought I have about myself and write it down. Write down the negative thoughts that you're having about yourself. This is going to help you have the awareness. This is what, if you can't see it, you can't fix it. And if you can't see it, you can't be it, right? So when I feel stressed, I'll pause and ask, what am I thinking about right now? What's stressing me out? A lot of times it's going to be things that we have no control over, that sometimes involve other people, right? We can't make other people's feelings our feelings in life. And you can't change what you don't notice. So when you're reframing your goals, you're actually changing the story. And it's about turning your unhelpful thoughts into more useful ones. That's what it's all about. Turning it into more useful We talked about it, from I can't to I can't yet. I failed, but what did I learn? This is what we're talking about. So you want to talk to yourself like you're a close friend to yourself, giving yourself self-compassion. When you make a mistake, realize it's part of learning about life. When you make a mistake, mistakes are crucial in our life, and realizing that they make us better is good. A failure, when you fail, it's because you're trying. So you got to give yourself credit when you fail at something. You can't fail unless you try. So if you feel like a failure, then you tried a lot. And that's going to help you get better and better and better in life. I want you to think about, if you spoke to your friends the way you talk to yourself, how would that work out for you? How many friends would you have if every day all your thoughts were just out loud and they were all about your friends or about your parents or about somebody? Would that work? So that means that our goals are going to be about kinder, stronger self talk. That's what they're going to be about. So our mind is always going to find what we're focusing on. And if we're focusing on self doubt, and if we're focusing on what's wrong, and if we're focusing on worries, then that's where our mind is going to stay. And we have control right when we wake up that today I'm not going to worry about anything. And I just can't explain or tell people enough that journaling your problems down, writing down where your problems are, things about yourself, when you look at them, it's not that big. It's not that big. Our minds turn worries into the worst. This is just because it's in our DNA. And it's also comes a lot now from the way we're raised, putting it into group stuff, being in a herd, if you will. Just being part of a herd. It's going to keep you all warm and cozy, and we're going to be tight, and everything's going to be safe. Whether it's a church or whether it's school group or something like that, we're just stuck into a herd. Sometimes you got to drift away from the herd and become yourself. And that means that we're going to feel unsafe. We're going to feel different. And once you start feeling different, it's because you got to start realizing who you are. You got to break away from just social media and watching videos all day of how you should be living your life. This is creating problems in our life. It's creating problems with our mental wellness. Right? Sometimes we think we're working all day while somebody's out on a yacht taking good pictures and climbing mountains and doing all this stuff. Well, you can do that too. And believe me, that's one moment of somebody's life. But our minds like to trick us that this is how some people are living. And it doesn't matter how other people are living. How are you living in the comfort of your own mind? That's what we're talking about this week. That's what week 3 is all about, is the power of goal setting, the power of how it's going to help your mind. And it's going to help your mind because as we get into next week, we're going to be going right into developing a growth mindset. That's what next week's about, developing a growth mindset. And this is going to be right in line with today, but a growth mindset is going to be understanding resilience and define. Number 3, good morning, everybody. I hope that everyone's having a good morning. It's Friday. Good morning, Brian. Good morning, Farm Girl. Thanks for coming in. We got some good stuff to go over with today. So we're on our course. Last week we were talking about identifying fears and limited beliefs. This week we're talking about setting goals and intentions. I think the most important goals in life, before we can go into have types of goals that are going to change our lives, first we have to change our mindset and recognize truly through self-reflection what part of our mindset it is that we need to change. And a lot of it is a language that we talk to ourselves. And today, when we're talking about goal setting and setting goals and intentions, we're basically talking about the goals of the way that we think, the way that we accept ourselves, and the way that we view things, and some of the perspectives that we have on our thinking to ourselves. And it's actually quite simple to do. When we sometimes share our thoughts with other people, or sometimes tell people what we're going to do, sometimes that already starts leaking some of the power. So when it comes to self-development and dealing with ourselves, we want to have full control over our power. That's when we're dealing with self-conflict, what's in our minds and what we're doing on a daily basis, to examine it and to speak just to ourselves about it really helps us harness the power to actually deal with it. And when we're doing that, we're getting more insight into repetitive thoughts and behaviors that we have, to allow the proper amount of timing and thought and everything to sink in together. Basically, the little thing that I wanted to write on the board today is that it's right here, that our thoughts turn into feelings that drive our actions, right? And then create results right there, or it creates our reality. And the key idea to having goals that have to do with our mindset, and having goals, our way of thinking, is for us to be kinder to ourselves and to realize where we sit, realizing gratitude, what we're grateful for, and what we already have, not what we're looking for. And the idea to this is really simple. When we're focusing on our gratitude and what we have, it's easier to accept gratitude. It's easier to control our feelings. And it's easier for us to have peace in our life. We set goals in life, like to lose weight or to walk more, or to do different things, and we tell people about it, and then we already burn some of the energy. When you do things on your own, you create like a furnace, and what happens is your thoughts, your reasoning, and everything's in that furnace burning the drive. Once you start sharing some of what you want to do, you let go of some of the fuel. So when it comes to your mind and your thinking habits, that this is all your power. These are all emotions that you have in the furnace going on to give you drive to make the changes that we need to. And journaling and doing self-discovery through journaling is a really good way to keep you on track with that type of thought process. So thinking and our mindset goals and how we want to think. So some of the basic little notes that we went over last week, we're going to go over again today, is that when we're thinking, first of all, our outcome goals and thinking are all about results, and the results being how we treat ourselves, how we talk, and how we're living our lives. It's not about other people. It's not about how people react to us. Once we take away everybody's reactions and everybody's validations, and we sit with ourselves, sometimes we'll hear these voices in our head. Hey, you're not good enough. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't be doing that. And these voices come from somewhere in our past. They come from possibly a teacher at school, somebody that raised us. These voices in our head, once you start reflecting, good morning, Kelly, I hope you're doing well. Once you start reflecting, where do these voices come from? And when you meditate and you journal a lot, you start to identify that these voices, they start to get quiet because they're not really valid. We have a habit of keeping them there. We have a habit of keeping all of our self-doubt and carrying it with us and not moving forward. So the limited beliefs that we have through voices that we hear when we're just quiet, when all the noise outside noises going on. This engine up here is still running, and it's talking a lot of self-doubt, the self-critic, this and that. And this can be controlled through meditation and goals to calm your mind, to find out where that voice comes from. Why can't you get that new job? Why aren't you able to have peace in your life? Why can't you say what you want to say? Why can't you be who you want to be? So these voices are just echoes left from past wounds, from something that somebody said. It could have been from a relationship. It could have been from a marriage. It could have been from your childhood. It could have been from your own child. Something your parents said to you. But just because that struck a chord there, we have to realize that that is not what our life is. Our life is not that. So when you're quiet and you're just thinking and you're just taking the time, maybe drinking a cup of coffee, having a good day one day, and your mind goes to some self-doubt. See, those are coming from somewhere. And when we journal about that and some of that self-doubt, it's easier for us to identify where it comes from. Sharing it with ourselves, not sharing it with other people. Once you start sharing ideas and I'm going to be this way, my goal is going to be good, and you tell people about it, sometimes our mind acts like that's already happening, and that's why it fizzles out. That's why goals and long time goals fizzle out, because we create a reality that this is going to happen. This is what's going to happen. People talk about manifesting things. Manifesting things doesn't work that way. When we're tell everybody about a goal and everybody what we do, we're starting to take fire out of the furnace that's going to create what we want to happen. So when you're doing a self journey, it's all about ourselves. We're going to keep our thoughts, our feelings, our journal all in this furnace that's going to be burning. And the anger that is created and the feelings and the emotions that are going to be created, they're going to burn up into smoke through the fire in that furnace, because that's what your drive is going to be. That's what your drive is going to be. And processing our goals are about action. They're all about action. So let's talk about some of these goals we're going to do. So thinking of a mindset goal, an example is how I want to think. How I want to think. And that's right. Others will get that. They'll make comments and give you self-doubt. You know, that's a good point, Farm Girl, because the minute that you share something that you're excited about, and one comment's going to give you self-doubt, which makes it hard on goals. So when we're wanting to set goals about mindset and the way that we think, when we stick with that and we do that and we don't tell others about it, they see the change. They see the change weeks into it, months into it, even daily. It's not a forever thing that you're always going to be changed. It's a daily practice. It's something that we think about and we coordinate with ourselves every day. Now, sometimes I lose it. My rational thinking, I set it on the back burner because I feel I got to say something to somebody. When you give some of your power away and you give something for somebody to do, everything's lost in transition, because nobody's going to do things the way you will. When it comes to what your desire is, what your fight is, what your life is about, you can't clone somebody else to do that. That's impossible. So when we're talking about our mindset and how we think about ourselves, that has to do with us. We're not going out to other people. Hey, what do you think about how I act? Hey, how did you see me do this? How did I do with that? We're going out and getting graded where it doesn't matter. We're born into this world alone, and we spend a lot of our time alone, and it's how you feel when you're alone. The echoes and the voices in your head of self-doubt, you have to train them to get them out of your mind. We're born with them, and we're immediately conditioned. And one of the strange things in life was we're conditioned in a community, work in groups at school, go to churches, get married, have families, always communicate, always be dependent on one another. And this creates a default. And the default that it creates is we're so worried about what everybody thinks because we're just shoved together from the very beginning. Release yourself from the herd. And there's an old saying to become a lone wolf on this one. When it comes to changing your mindset, don't tell anybody about it. When it comes to your goals being all about you and the way that you think and how you want your life to be, make it all about you and don't share it. You don't even have to share. Once you even share things with a therapist, it's all out there. And then what you're going to get back is opinionated rhetoric for what they think you should do. Here's what do you think you should do when you're doing these goals and what we're working on? What is best for you? Do you really have to go talk to somebody else to find out what you want for lunch today, or what you want to think today, or what you want to wear today, or how you want to feel today? Do you really have to get other people involved into that? So when we're talking about our thinking goals today, our thinking goals are going to be about a process of thinking that we are going to be aware intentionally that these thoughts of ours, the way we think, create feelings, control our nervous system and everything. That just, have you ever heard a term? There's a lot of good there's a lot of good people that go live on TikTok and other things, and they're talking about rewiring yourself, this and that. Well, there's this data that we send into our head, so it's not like a wire, but it's a process. It's a process of realizing that our health, the way that we feel, and everything's tied into our thoughts. So when we're having the same problems over and over, when we're having the same reactions about things, when we find ourselves in the same type of relationship or the same type of financial situations or the same type of things that we're behind on, and we're constantly failing at work, we're constantly not getting things right, this all has to do with the mindset. And that mindset is a mindset that that was developed through our thinking and our upbringing that brought us to a point of what we can and what we can't do. It's all in the mindset. And the mindset can be changed immediately. So the third week here is pretty powerful about becoming the person you've always dreamed of. So, and it's going to be simple. And, when we're setting goals, you're going to realize that some goals often don't work that we set. And the problem is that sometimes we only have what we believe is just an outcome goal, right? Let's talk about that. An outcome goal is what I want to have. For example, you'd like to lose 10 pounds, right? You want to earn more money. Those are outcome goals. And then we have process goals, right? Process goals are what I want to do. And these are some examples. Is I want to exercise so many times a week. I want to work on my book 20 minutes a day. I want to reach out to so many people in my life every day because I sell something, right? But what we forget is the thinking goals, which is part of the whole 1, 2, 3 process. So we have our outcome and our process. When you add a third, which is this, it's the thinking mindset goal, and it's how do I want to think, resilience, and its critical role in your personal development. So this whole 10-week course is going to be about your mind and about you, and it's going to drive you forward into hopefully places that you've never been. So we need to have some activities every day. So we have to make our thinking practical and personal, which means we need to do a mental maintenance and checkup on ourselves every day. And you want to think about what thinking goals and process goals you need. What is it about yourself, your time management, and how you feel that needs to be changed? What is it? What is it that you want to change? I'm sorry, I got some really bad allergies again today. So you can get this. And what you want to do is you want to take a journal. And we were talking about this last week. And, just make a little column on it. Just make a little column. These are little wounds here. Remember we were talking about this last week? But write down what you control and what you can't control. Write down what your worries are. Just divide it. Just divide it and tab it out of my worries. Because as we change our mindset, we're on this journey, I want you to go back to that. And what is you can and you can't control. And some of the things that we can't control is because we're going about things the wrong way. And when we're going about things and we're doing it in the same way or a different way, sometimes things give you the same result no matter what. It's like trying to get a rubber ball to no longer bounce. You're going to have to destruct it, right? Well, sometimes our thoughts and feelings about ourselves, they're going to need destruction. And you're going to do that through journaling, through your mindset, and finding out where that echo in the past, where that wound is, to fix it, crush it, so it stops impeding your growth for yourself. That's what we're going to do. And next week, we're going to get into it even harder when we talk about resilience and your mindset. Next week, when we're talking about our mindset growth, it's going to blow up a lot of your self-doubt. I'm here right with you to help you crush this. I still have a lot of this in my head I need to get rid of. Okay, so we're going to be talking about our process goals and our thinking goals. And you can do this. You can do this. And you don't have to give away the energy and tell everybody this is what you're working on. You're just going to journal it. You're going to write it. And you're going to think about it with some good music, some good rhythmic classical music to listen to it. And then at the same time, listen to where your thoughts are about yourself and what you're worried about. Have your pad with you. Write down some thoughts, a negative thought that could be, we have thoughts about ourselves. I'm ugly, or I'm fat, or I don't feel comfortable when I go out. I feel that people stare at me. I feel this, I feel that. Let's find out where those come from. I'm going to help you with that, right? So, and write down the massive goal. There's one thing you can change about your thinking. What would it be? What person, place, or thing are you around when some negative thoughts come in to play? Are you afraid to go into church because you think that you're a sinner? Well, that's what the church there is for. So notice how your thinking goals help you stay. And, when you start noticing that the thinking goals help you stay alert with the things that matter to you, that's when you start noticing some changes where you take a little more time for yourself, a little bit more self-time, where a little bit more relaxing time, finding it easier to relax and taking it easy. Good morning. So when you're feeling stressed, angry, or feel like giving up, notice it. Take control of that right now. When you just feel like, I just had enough. I just can't take this anymore. What are you thinking right then? What are you thinking when that happens? And when you do that, you're giving power back to yourself when you're thinking about it. I had an episode yesterday where I totally lost it because we were on a job and we were demoing a job, and hours later, the building people called me and say, hey, there's a leak. They made it sound like a tidal wave was going through the whole building, which was a multi-story building, and there's water everywhere. And I'm talking to a person at the building who's been there for years who should just be able to shut off a valve. And in the meantime, we'll get people there. We'll get people over there. Well, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do that. And then now there's a frustration because I feel that everybody should know what I know, especially if you've been at a job and your job is the maintenance of something, and your job's the maintenance of your mind, and it's your fault the way that you think. So I say, but it's not. And I'm going to show you how to get away with that. But when your job is to know how to shut off and shut down utilities and you don't, that's not a good thing. So I lost it yesterday. And I just had to take time off and catch myself. No apologies needed to anybody. People should know what their jobs are. So you notice in your thinking goals help you stay in the game even when it's hard. That's what that with rethinking about is to stay in it even when it's hard. Um, well, we all think that our spouses should know everything, especially what we want, but and it is hard. So we get to know different people. When you feel stressed, angry, or like giving up, we're going to notice it. We're going to question alone. Okay. When you're questioning alone, you're giving yourself power back. You're understanding it so that next time it happens, if you felt like your reaction was a failure, then that's good, right? Because you'll know next time how to react. Sometimes just avoid it. It is what it is. There's a leak. We'll come in there as fast as we can to fix it. And some people are just born without a lack of, let me try to find the word, urgency. Now, here's where that comes from in my life. My dad was snappity snap, everything real fast. Do it, sweep it up, clean it up. You move like an old lady, move it, clean up after yourself. Take a bath, do this, do that, clean up, look at this, look at it. You know, when you're fucking raised that way, with a smack here and a smack there from a young age, you know, you take that mindset that I'm not fast enough, I'm not good enough, I need to learn this, I got to know everything and all this in my life, and it fucked up a big part of my adulthood. So I was able to take some of those thoughts and put them into words and into reactions into my life that impeded some of my growth and my mindset clear into my early 50s. And anybody who was raised in the 50s, 60s, and 70s when your parents took out the whip, you know what I'm talking about. So it's not me. It's not just me. So that made me think that I'm always messing things up and I'm the one that has to fix it. That I'm the one that fixes it. So now, like, I'm a mess. I can't do anything right. I sweep it up, not clean enough, good enough. But it gave me some compliments because I'm told that nobody can clean like me. That I'm a good, deep down cleaner. So what good came out of sometimes the bad that's happened in our lives? You know? Sometimes I mess up, but I'm learning and I'm improving. And that is the thought process on our thinking goals, what we're talking about today. Noticing that our thoughts, our feelings that drive actions that create results in our life. They 100% are creating the results. And when we're listening to the echoes from the past, of things we heard or old things that we think about ourselves, then guess what? We're going to stay there every fucking day. And guess what else? Life goes by pretty quick. So I'm going to fix it tomorrow or next week, or then years go by, and we're still ingrained with the same cockadoodle bullshit that we learned or the echoes that we listened to in our head when we can just get it out of our mind. Just get it out of our mind. And you know, 1 week of a thinking goal can change that. You got to crush the wounds inside of you. You got to realize what you have control over, what you do. You got to leave the herd where you're comfortably complacent and unsupervised because you just fit right in because of social media, live here. This is what you got to do. You got to drift away from the herd. Drift away from the crowd. Be on your own and be your own self. For a while. Those that like you will come. The friends you don't need because they won't be asking you for shit anymore. Just stay out of the herd. Go graze on your own for a while. And what you need is just an action plan of, you know, what I heard today resonated with me because it's right, because of the way I've thought this way for a long time. And I'm worried about things that I now realize I really don't have control over them. You know, if you're worried about paying a bill, write down a budget. If you're worried about what somebody might think, who cares? What do you think? You don't need your validation from outside when you're hiding in the herd and you're just part of everyday society, which is where society wants you to be. It happens when you're in school, group projects, at church, be in a group, have a group of friends, go out with a group of people, and you're just now being molded into like you need somebody to have a self-identity when you don't. You are unique, you know, created person out of love. and you're very unique. So choose your next thought to be a good one. And then the thought after that, choose it to be a good one. Then the thought after that, if it's a bad one, correct it and find out why that thought came into your head. And then after that, choose better actions. Choose better actions. I'll tell you what, you're not weird at all for having no friends. If you have no friends, you're a self-reliant person, and that's really good. And if you find that you need to just break away, to decompress, that is that nudge inside you to take time for yourself. Not have people ask questions, what's wrong? How can I help? How can I do? Because people really don't give a shit. I just really feel that everybody has an agenda. And your agenda should be your agenda about you and not explaining yourself and find out that it wants to be that these thoughts are for you to fix. What's messed up in your life is messed up in your head through your thoughts. So you can tell yourself, I mess up, but you know what? I'm also improving. I'm also going to do more reading. I'm going to do more self-reflection. Remember last week we were recognizing limited beliefs about ourselves right here. And I still have it right up right here. So this is us to recognize our limited beliefs, false beliefs that hold us back. We can fix it through self-reflection, observing our self-talk, considering our reactions, right? Seeking feedback mainly from ourselves and questioning your beliefs and notice patterns over time. When you have a trigger, something upsets you, if you do, then what you want to do is first pause. If you don't see it, don't be it. Regulate, respond, and engage and heal. These are simple things that we can do. We're in control of how we think and feel and how we're going to react. And over the next several weeks here in this 10-week series, Tuesdays and Fridays at 7 a.m., I do this not just for you, but for myself. If you want to listen to me babble, you can. I'm glad that you're here. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. This is just through my observations. So you want to give yourself a strong message every day. And the strong message is, you are you. You are the only you. Only you can make you happy. And only you can make yourself peaceful. You can't go out and find peace. It's impossible to go out and find peace. You can't, you wake up with it. It's something that you cultivate and that it comes from within you, not other people. It doesn't come from church. It doesn't come from your friends. It doesn't come from work. It doesn't come from hearing birds chirping. Peace comes from an acceptance of yourself, the way that you feel in your skin, how you feel about yourself, your thoughts, your reactions, and your life. That's where peace comes from. Because when you have peace, the noise is still out there. You're just listening to it differently. Chaos is still there, but you're reacting to it differently. Stress is still out there, but it's really not getting to you. Problems are out there, but they're not your problems to fix. People still need help, but you're going to choose who you help. So we're going to get rid of people pleasing. We're going to do different things. When you wake up in the day, you're going to choose peace over worry and stress. You're going to choose your work over anyone else's. You're going to choose your opinion over someone else's opinion. You're going to listen to yourself about how you're doing and not somebody giving you their opinion of how you're doing. You're going to walk your path and not someone else's. You're going to cut your firewood for your fire for yourself in a peace. You're going to drift away from the herd and let them go their way while you carve and run to the beat of your own drum in a peaceful, good way, because you're having control and you're setting goals in your mind for the way that you're now thinking to yourself. And give yourself a strong message. Write down things. Write down that line where I showed you. What are you worried about? Where are your stresses? When you write down your biggest problem and look at it on paper, which is probably isn't even a sentence, and just look at that and ask yourself, can I control this? And if you say no, then you can control how you feel about it. And as we get into next week, when we're cultivating more self-awareness, right? We're going to be developing a growth mindset. And it'll blow your mind when you hear it, because a growth mindset means that we're continually are aware and have awareness that we're going to grow and we're going to stay resilient toward things. We know that things are going to happen in life. That's what we're going to choose. And we're going to question the critic in our head. We're going to keep the critic in our head from keeping us down. We're going to spend more time being good. So let's talk about it. Today we're talking about the goals, not just normal goals. We're talking about goals that actually change the way that you think. This is what today's about when we're talking about these goals. Living the best you is all about a mindset. It's not about putting on the nicest outfit, going out, being recognized, or taking a picture in front of someone else's car. This is all about looking at yourself in the mirror and engaging with how we perceive ourselves. And when we're looking at our mind, you know that when you write and you self-reflection gives you an image of your mind on paper of how you feel. And you get to read it. You get to read it. And what advice are you going to give to yourself when you finally self-reflect down on paper one time? You can write down, I always feel angry. I always feel upset. I feel anxieties. What's going on? What's bringing it? Crush it. Let's do this together. Let's do it together. So write down one goal you already have, and then add one process, okay? And then a thinking goal to support it. Remember talking about that right at the beginning today? We're going to have what our outcome is, what the process is, and how we're going to think about it. So let's talk about one. An outcome goal is I would like to stop having negative talk to myself. Okay, that's our outcome. Our process is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna check in with myself and journal 2 to 3 times a day of how I talk to myself, and then we're gonna add the mindset, and we're gonna tell ourselves. And this is how do I want to think about it when I fail? First of all, I failed because I'm trying. That failure is gonna help me. And when things go wrong, what do I have still have in control? When I talk to myself, I want to talk to myself like a good friend. So we have to have the thinking into the process. The thinking is everything. The thinking is what brings you forward, is our mindset. Anything that we do, we're constantly thinking, and we have to look out for ourselves in our thoughts, the way that we parent our kids, the way that we're in our relationships, and everything that we say. Not reacting to our kids, not reacting to, not living a bag of reactions. Living with reason. Instead of reacting, reason, think, pause. And what can you do to give peace? Because when you're reacting to things, you're taking away peace. I had a lot of peace taken from me this week. One was a misunderstanding, and another one had to do with somebody who I thought should have answers who didn't. Okay, so let's do something. Notice some stuff. Notice the way you're thinking. Name your thoughts out. Call them out. Choose your next helpful thought. When's a good time of day for you to choose a nice helpful thought for your mind? Okay. So don't just set goals for what you want to achieve, set goals for how you want to think. And that is how real change lasts. That's how change lasts. That's how changing your life, having good spirituality and whatever it is you believe in and whatever religion you have, if it's higher than you and it makes you feel good about yourself, then know that that's part of where you're going to get some of your peace, right? So let's look at some stuff. Let's focus mainly on our thoughts to feelings to driving actions to creating results, right? So let's have a good one today. Somebody you care about, they are going to come to your house and they're going to be there on their birthday. And that matters a lot to you because you're like, wow, they're going to spend their birthday with me. So that thought gave you a feeling of goodness, right, and a reaction. And it's going to drive your actions, right, to go shop, to go get cake, to get their favorite food, to do some things And then that's going to create a result. And that result's going to be that you're now happy because you made that person's day. And I want you to think of that really close. And I want you to think that the story I just told is about somebody in your life that you feel so strongly about that you're going to turn all of this into the best day ever for them. The thoughts, the feeling, the day, because they're coming. Now, I want you to think this. When's the last time you thought and did for yourself that way? That you took yourself out for a treat, or that you broke away, or you did something for yourself, an act of kindness. You'll go get that pair of shoes you want. Go get some of the stuff that you feel you don't deserve. Because what you deserve is what I just told you. If there's 3 people you'll do anything for in your life, you have to be at the top of the list. If there's 3 people you trust, you have to be at the top of the list. If there's 3 people that you can trust and just do anything for, you have to be at the top of the list. So I want you to think of yourself, not just as your thoughts, not just as work in progress, but I want you to think of yourself as your number one fan. And I want you to think of yourself as the best person that you know, because it's up to you to have a close relationship with yourself, to make the changes that I talk about happen. For you to give yourself reward, kindness, empathy, and compassion to your heart. And no matter what's happened to you, no matter what problems that you may have, you still have the gift of life. And to realize that the life is built on moments, that make this moment a good one. Make this moment about you. Make this moment to be truly about yourself and how you feel. And know that no matter what, every night you make it to your bed and make sure it's made. When you get up in the morning, do yourself a favor later, just make your bed. And know that when you go to bed, that the comfort of it was made by you. You have to do everything yourself in life when it comes to your peace of mind, to feeling good about yourself. That's really important. It's super duper important to say your prayers, to be kind to yourself, to be grateful for what's going right. Think about what's going right and give yourself reward for that. Because if you have things going right in your life, it's because in that particular area, the thought is correct, everything's right, it's going the way that you want, and you're getting growth out of it. And it helps impede negative talk from yourself. But there's times when we're alone where we beat ourselves out, where we have the self-doubt, and we had to find out where that comes from. The little wound or that word or something that somebody said. And if there's things that make us sad, there's things that make us, but those pass. Things will pass. Time goes on, and don't let it take away the moment's peace. Take the time off. Ask for a day off. Go somewhere that you've always wanted to go. Give yourself the good life that you were put here to have. And your goal in life is to be happy. That's why you're here. You're here to find happiness and learn life lessons and be good to people, be supportive, and gain wisdom as you get older. When you gain wisdom, you need less. You need less of what you think you need, because the wisest person knows that they don't know everything. So we're not going to know everything, but here's what we do know, that we're going to get wiser, we're going to need less, and we're going to step through life carefully protecting our inner peace. Not living emotionally. It's too easy. It's like a cop-out, to just blow up. That's the easiest thing there is to do. Why do you want life to be that easy? Why don't you make it hard? Because through hard work come good things, right? So if something really disturbs you, makes you mad, and you're mad at somebody, you don't want to forgive them and just fucking leave them the hell out of your life, that's just the easiest thing you can do. But to grow and forgive, whether you want to talk to them or not, and not to let it eat you up. Because when you let other people eat you up, they don't even know. So you're the one in this prison. But What's hard to do in life is to reason with yourself, to be honest with yourself, and to protect your peace. That takes work. And not reacting to things in an emotional anger way or using emotions. Always steer your wheel with reason. With confidence, it's within you. When you get too much self-doubt in your life, it takes away your feeling of control, knowing that you control. You have the mindset of what you control. And when something's out of your control, you realize that it's out of your control, but you can't let it take your peace. You can't let it take your peace. That, you know what? I'm going to not let this take my peace anymore. I'm going to start today and I'm going to take my life back. And what I want to do is I want to protect my peace. I want you to think of a time in your life where you may have been a kid or something when you were by yourself, whether you're in a sandbox or had your favorite doll or toy or truck, when your imagination was flowing and time went slow. You can still have that in life. And time slows down when we're living in the moment, when we're taking this moment and looking around for what's right about it. What's right about it is you're considering right now of anything that I said that might have resonated, to try it out, to give it a try. But don't say I'll try it, just say I'll do it. To check in on yourself, to check in on your mental health, and to realize that your well-being is more important than anyone else's around. You don't need an audience in life. You don't need to impress people in life. And you don't need to give your energy to somebody just to be validated. You need to take all of that energy and all of that, turn it into an inner furnace that just burns, protecting your inner peace in life. So you can have a life full of peace, resilience, and move forward. Setting goals with intentions that solely have to do with you living a peaceful, calm, tranquil life. And then you can teach it to others too. And people will recognize it and they'll respect it. But first, you have to recognize it and you have to respect yourself. You have to give yourself the respect. Filter what you're bringing up in here. Instead of scrolling, sit down and journal. Instead of watching a series one time, sit down and journal. Find yourself a quiet space and listen to the noise in your head, especially the little voices that are there. Identify where they come from and turn a new page, turn a new leaf in your life, and be happy and smile at yourself and self-reflect. You were made out of love. You're not some part of evolution, which that scientifically was a part of it, but the very default, the beginning of your creation is not meaningless. There's love in the world, and you're here to feel it, and you're here to give yourself peace. And you're going to find the best love and peace that you can ever have is the love and peace that you create in your own heart through what you believe in, through your spirit, and through your thought and your mental thought. That's where you want to be. Don't live a bag of reaction. I hope that you're coming in here next week, because on Tuesday, we're going to be on our 4th week. And our 4th week's going to be about, I told you, it's about mindset. It's about a strong mindset. And if you miss any of these, you're very welcome for them, girl. If you missed any of these, you can hit my link tree and watch this live on YouTube, anything that you want to. Everybody have a great day. It's Friday. Fridays are good, right? Sometimes, you know what? Some Fridays is some other people's Mondays. Like, so if you have off Wednesday and Thursday, today is somebody's happy weekend to you too. I hope everybody has a good weekend. And if you live on the East Coast, look at our temperatures on Monday. We're going to break some records. Have a good day, everybody. I hope anything I said today resonated to you. I'm not a doctor or a therapist. I'm just here to help you. And I just want you to know that you're worthy. Take the time, do the hard work, and be good to yourself. See you Tuesday morning, 7 a.m.